What is number training? In short, number training is parents who count at the child. Why bother number training? For me, it is an issue of safety. In their adventuring, the children are going to explore dangerous situations and come across things that you need to check them. You have to tell them that's not safe, don't do that. And if you have them number trained, you can do it very quickly in a way that they won't burn themselves or dash into the street or whatever it is that you have to curtail. That number system becomes a means for you to do it in the quickest, most efficient manner possible. I only count to 3. Some parents count to 10, some 5. For me, because it is a safety issue, I only count to 3. That way, I can be as lenient as I want to be with how fast I count, but if they're doing something dangerous like running in towards the road, I can say stop, 1, 2, and be really quick, and they'll stop and look at me and say, like, what's up, Mom? Like, what's your deal? What's going on? So they're not always aware of the danger that they're in. And so when you're there, you can bring their attention to it and just say, you were about to run into that baby carriage, or you were about to run straight into that car. You can tell them afterwards. The 3 number system becomes the most efficient means of getting them to stop what they're doing and look at you. I number train them the minute that I recognize they can understand what I'm asking them to do and they are choosing to not do it. This is before they learn how to speak, and at times can be before they even learn how to walk. They're learning how to walk and they're cruising around and they're reaching for things. And all you do is you say no, and you say no 1, no 2, no 3, and then you go to the baby and you physically move them away from what it was you told them not to touch. You do that, and you start when they're babies, and this is a baby training system, and they learn to understand your system. You are learning to communicate with this child, and this child is learning to communicate with you, and they will pick it up. And you don't have to spank them, you don't have to be mad at them, but when you get to 3, you are immediately there removing them from what it was they were touching. Put them into the playpen, strap them into the high chair, put them in the bumbo, distract them with a game, give them something else to do. But you are physically there. And when you do this for a baby, it's a lot easier to train them than when you wait until they're bigger and it becomes more difficult to physically remove them from those kinds of situations. I didn't bother to do this with my first child because I didn't know that it was important until she turned about 3 or 4. So I had a 3/4-year-old that I was having difficulty controlling because I had never given her any boundaries like this. You can establish those boundaries at, before 12 months old. You can do it. I would recommend it. And that's why with my third child, I have had the most pleasant experience. He's just been a joy because I was able to show him those boundaries at a young age, and he's been able to thrive in that experience. What to do if you haven't number trained your child and they are 3 or 4 years old? You can number train them as a 4-year-old. You can do it 2, 3, 4. It only requires that when you get to 3, they have a consequence. Again, you don't have to spank them and you don't have to be mad at them, but they do need to have a consequence every time you get to 3. In fact, my husband would say that you do not start counting until you know and you've decided what the consequence is going to be once you've gotten to 3. Also, from his perspective, he highly recommends that once you start counting, you keep pace with how you keep pace with yourself. So you decide how fast you're going to count and you don't slow down. You don't go 1, 2, 2.5, 2 3/4. Like that's not how this works. You start counting 1, 2, 3, and you don't slow down, because the minute you start slowing down, you're failing to communicate. And so what he recommends, because I'm the guilty party here, where I'll say 1 and I'll say 2, and then I'm waiting for them, like, come on, like, I don't want to have to put you in timeout or give you this thing to do, or like, come on, just do it already, do it. And at this point he would have already given them that he would have already just, said, oh, okay, fine, you're done. And that's why he's a lot better about getting them to do things than I am, because he's more, I guess, self-disciplined that way. And I'm always leaning towards mercy, which is not always the best thing for them, especially when you're teaching them how to discipline themselves. I'll go ahead and take this opportunity to say that mercy was created for the penitent only, and when it's extended to other parties and given about frivolously, it is being misused. Let's say your child's already 5 or 6 and you decided you wanted to do something like number training. It wouldn't be the baby number training anymore. You would be using a 3-step system at this point, which changes it from communicating to the baby, which is 1, 2, 3. And that's a very simple, I will say 1, 2, 3 every time I'm communicating to the baby. I want you to stop what you're doing. And that's it's consistent for them so that they can follow along. For the older children, it becomes a 3-step system where I ask you to do something, and then I remind you to do something, and then I tell you to do something. And that's the 3-step system for older children, and you can communicate with them more using your language. For the 3-step system, you can be more lenient with time. It's not the immediate baby thing. You can still revert to the 1, 2, 3 kind of thing when they're in a dangerous situation and you're afraid for their lives. Like, of course, it becomes a very quick communication. But for the older children, if you're just starting out brand new and they've never had this training before, it becomes a 3-step system where you are communicating to your child that when you get to 3 and you tell them to do something, you expect them to do it immediately or they will receive a consequence. And while I don't have any teenagers at the moment, I do believe it's something that can work for them because you're removing the childishness of the number system and replacing it with, look, I asked you, I reminded you, and I told you, and you still didn't do it. You've earned this. And that becomes a very matter-of-fact way of communicating with them. I know I come off as hard, but maybe I do, maybe I don't. I can be hard. My oldest child taught me how to be hard, so that was a learned thing. I like to think that I'm actually a reasonable person. I give my children 3 chances to avoid this. 1, and I hold my finger up. Would you please take that toy and put it in that box? And I give them some time in which to fulfill said task, whether it's that one or a different one. 2, 5 minutes later, I remember asking you to put that toy in that box. And then that can still be very civil, very, very cordial, very pleasant home environment. That's fine. No big deal. I understand. I don't always hear you the first time either, so it's giving them some leeway. And then 3, I need you to stop what you're doing, and before you do anything else, pick up that toy, put it in that box. And at this point, if they do not immediately stop what they're doing to pick up that toy and put it in that box, they have earned a focus activity. It's immediate. If they don't, I'll take 1 deep breath in, if they haven't even started moving, they've taken too long. They've had time to put the toy away on their own time. By the 3rd strike, they are on my time now, and I get to decide how long that's going to be. And it's going to be like that 1 deep breath in, and there's a focus activity. If they haven't started moving, if they start moving, I'm pacified. I see that you're at least attempting to follow directions now. And this is also a point where you can pick a certain tone of voice or that look or that signal to the children that they are on thin ice. And if you pick at it and you use it, you can use it selectively on these instances. You don't have to be out of your senses to look that way or to sound that way. You can just pull out the mom voice or that look that helps them understand that this is important. Learning how to follow directions and be obedient is going to be a useful skill for you to have for the rest of your life. Go ahead.
I can read the duck. Then I swim at the glass. Gonna run. went down. I can read the duck. I can read the duck. The next one, the second one, and the two. The snake slid her down. The snake went down. I can read the duck.